much older audience. I think you'll agree. Sitting there watching these ones.
Definitely think so.
Well, the referee has stole it for me on his appearance during this, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely the most flamboyant referee I've seen in a long time.
See McManus back in it. Some chops there going in. Pretty hard. I love that. It's like Eddie Guerrero would do. You know, you'd turn around and be like, what the hell? So now the referee's thinking that he's done something behind his back. I think that's always a good sign, the fact that we don't have the sound on Matt, but we can kind of know what the hell's going on from that. Like,
yeah, it is a good sign.
He's been found out.
That's a good point, yeah. That's why I say it makes a big difference about how you react to the crowd and whatever, because if you're paying attention to them and you know, like, they're watching you and you know that you want to, like, make them hate you or make them like you, that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're right about the sound. If you can do it that way, then it is, you've totally nailed it.
Yeah. So Johnny Saint will get the victory because they felt he'd done something, DQ'd. So as he keeps pointing to his head, he used his head. There's a nice little moment there. So you wouldn't have thought you'd expect that kind of an ending in World of Sport all the time, but there you go. So he's outwitted Mick McManus, the heel, and everyone's of course happy with that. And now he's going to get on the mic. He's got something to say. Try and. The guy you love to hate himself. I'll stick some audio onto this now as we're getting some talking.
Johnny Saint just lay down and pretended to be hit by that punch. Well, I can't beat you again, fair and square. I'll never wrestle on English television again. Well, that's what Johnny Saint thinks about it.
No, Mick McManus is doing one.
The winner, ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Saint. So McManus admitting to me now that Johnny Saint lay down on that, and that we all saw it. He said at ringside, you must have seen it, because he lay down there. It was definitely not a defeat. Anyway, the net result is the referee joining us now. McManus really upset. Saint quite happy because he knows he can probably do it again. Fair and square, as he just said. The net result, a win for Johnny Saint over McManus on a disqualification in round 4.
So there you go. Kind of screw job before a screw job, I guess. Right there on poor Mick McManus trying to argue. Matt, looking at that match, like we'll probably get a few more requests, I'm sure, from World of Sport, but that one in general, the style of it, was you expecting that, or was a pleasant surprise, or what did you make of it?
I actually really like this one. Actually, I thought it was really good. I like the way that it was broken up a bit more, because when you're watching some of the older ones and they're like almost an hour long and it's one whole big long hole because they're in best holds a lot of the time. I like the way that this had rounds, it breaks it up, lets people reset a little bit, and the fact that there was a lot of more of a faster speed to this than I was expecting. So I was surprised all around by this, how good it was.
Sure. Yeah. Well, very, very pleased with that, and we're going to move on now to our next match.
Bring my phone back.
So the next match from the UK, we now go to the American side across the pond, and we have a match between Gino Hernandez and Chris Adams up against Kerry and Kevin Von Erich, hair versus hair match, which of course comes from WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling. of course, the infamous Von Erich territory, for everybody that knows it. And yeah, look that up on YouTube as well. You're looking for the hair versus hair match. There are other matches between them, but the hair versus hair match, it's just under around sort of 27 mark. So let's count you in once again as we go for our next match. This coming from 1985 in October. So let's get into it in 3, 2, 1. And we're on. Matt, we're back on the American soil to end this show, and yeah, this was recommended by Sheldon Goldberg, so this is why we're doing it. Who recommended this as one of the top matches. And again, people probably not familiar, Matt, that they probably think that the whole hair versus hair thing kind of was in WWE, but no, this was going on way before then. This was WCCW was very much one of the first. They done a lot of firsts. Like I think this is kind of a lumberjack match as well, Matt. So it's not only a tag team hair versus hair, but it's also a lumberjack kind of thing. So. And again, lots of fans they kind of think that it all started in WWE, but no, it didn't. It started in these kind of places, and this was already going on. Just want to turn a little bit of volume up here because I think it's worth pointing out the kind of music that they were coming into at the time. Bad to the bone. There you go. So here are the heels at the time, and as I say, Chris Adams. How familiar are you with Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez in general, Matt?
Again, no, not really familiar with these guys. This is what's so good about this series. It's really put me in touch with a lot of things that I should know, cool. But I've somehow missed.
Well, Chris Adams from the UK, first and foremost, we should say is one of ours, and Gino Hernandez, who definitely passed away way too early. He was considered as one of the best up and coming stars. Definitely would have made it in WWE for sure. But Chris Adams is the guy you see on your with doing his hair.
Yeah.
Quite a character. Always pretty much a heel back in the day, but just want everybody to just get a taste of what that atmosphere was back then. Like this was like rock and roll when the Von Erichs were in town for these kind of matches. This was also the first promotion, Matt, that used music. The Freebirds, of course, the famous Freebirds, would come in and use music in this territory, and then everyone started using music. But this is kind of where it all started in Texas, as we see the Von Erichs now coming out, Kevin and Kerry Von Erich, who, Matt, I know you are very familiar with Kerry and Kevin, I'm pretty sure of that, as the Texas Tornado and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So these two guys would have been treated like absolute rock stars back in the day, as the whole family pretty much was. They were the hometown guys, the hometown heroes. They never went round to other territories. They were the sort of permanent fixture. You'd see other guys come in like your Flairs and all these other like the Freebirds and have sort of massive rivalries, but the hometown kids were the Von Erichs, and they were absolutely adored by the crowd. And this is no small feat. I mean, you look at this audience again, Matt. You can see just how big wrestling was back in these sort of times. And again, I've probably harped on about this a lot on the podcast, but 1970s was my sort of favourite era to go back to. It just seems like there was so much going on. You had so many different territories, all at one time, kind of doing so well. It wasn't just all about one promotion. You had, the WWF was still very much based up in, New York at the time. They were getting their stuff together, sort of buying out all these places. But you had the AWA, you had this, you had Stampede Wrestling, you had Georgia Championship Wrestling. I mean, it was just everything was going on back then at one time. But people kind of think, well, how could this audience come together just for a territory? But in Texas, they certainly had that corner of the market to themselves, and the Von Erichs were, as I said, very, very popular to all this. And here we are with a tag team match between the Von Erichs, against Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez, hair versus hair. And as you saw Chris Adams come out with his hair, he certainly doesn't want to lose it. The way he was shuffling on about that was. So yeah, very easy to understand who on earth is the heels and the baby faces in this one. That's for sure. It's not going to take too long to work that out. That's for sure. As we see Chris Adams there being billed from England. So it doesn't really get spoke a lot about, really. I mean, you definitely don't see him on WWE TV, do you, about Chris Adams? But he had a great career in World Class Championship Wrestling, a really good career. As we see Kevin Von Erich, who he inducted the Freebirds, I think it was earlier in this year. Certainly not going to forget that Hall of Fame induction, are we, Matt? From the singing that we got at the end of that. God, dear. As we see Kerry. Yeah. As we see Kerry Von Erich. Stand in the ring there. And now we have all the other wrestlers coming out, and I believe, if I'm led to believe this is right, I believe this was a lumberjack match. So those that get chucked out are going to get easily chucked back in and might get a bit of a beating on the outside as well. So we'll see how this one goes. But yeah, I mean, lumberjack matches and, you know, hair versus hair was already going on. Matt, was you familiar with knowing all that already? That you know, it wasn't, because fans I speak to, they're very much like, no, it was a WWE first. They come up with all these lumberjack and sort of style stipulation ladder matches and all the rest of it. But was you aware that the hair versus hair was already going on and things like that? The gimmick kind of matches are already happening.
Certain ones, but stuff like this, the hair versus hair and that. No, I mean, I've never really seen something like that outside of WWE. Like prior to them doing it, straight away, immediately always springs to mind that it's people like Brutus Beefcake and that. No, there's ones earlier, but you know, straight away, that's the images that come to my mind.
Yeah. Well, I think we've seen enough of those ones. Old Brutus Beefcake, my goodness. So they become his huge gimmick, wasn't it, with the scissors? As we see this match, just about to start, I believe. Well, we've got a little coming up there, have we? This is here we go. Kerry Von Erich, always very impressed with his. I mean, he was like definitely a great looking wrestler back then. I mean, he was. You'd think this guy was chiseled for sure. And he come along, but definitely looked the part of a wrestler. Definitely what would become of the time of the definitely of that sort of era for sure. You can see a little bit of a promo going on. I'll just turn this up whilst we've got that on. Oh no, it's already gone off anyway, so that's the end of that. Oh, there's a little sign up, there you go, Chris and G. We now get into this match, I believe. Not sure what the kind of video footage is going to be like here. I'll tell you that much. Matt, in general, was you a fan of Kerry Von Erich? I know he only got a small run in WWE, but the Texas Tornado, I know we spoke about him before on the podcast.
Yeah, he was very kind of unique, wasn't he? Definitely, he had the whole kind of look going for him. He had the look, he had the ability, and yeah, he reminds me of a little bit like the Ultimate Warrior at the time as well. I mean, I know it wasn't that kind of high impact in that, but he definitely had that kind of following about him. Yeah.
Referee, you've got to look at the referee in this. He's got a completely different gear on to what we were used to in the last two matches. So give a little cheer for that. Now, the audience-wise, this is probably, this audience is really captivated, as I said, behind the Von Erichs. Like, they would have been so into this. Coming out to this, but they filled out this stadium so many damn times. I mean, This wasn't like, something that